Beware, coward.
Hey everyone, long time no see. I know it's been 16 months since my last video, so it's about time for another one.
Bum to the bum to the bum to the bass. Bum to the bum to the bum bum.
For the last 6 years, I've kept track of the games I've completed. It's a nice way of looking back and remembering the big AAA and small indie games I've played. And this year, I thought it would be fun to make a video each month, showing the games I completed, and briefly talking about things I liked and disliked. So kicking the year off with January, as usually happens, I've played a lot of smaller games this month, choosing to try out a wide selection of games rather than chip away at a couple of big games. So we're kicking the month and year off with a heck of a combo, exploring colons and ending up with milk. You're the Michael Jordan of gastroenterology, and it's going to be a very long week. Help 5 patients with their increasingly weird colon problems in this 2 to 3 hour experience. There's horror elements, but not really any jump scares. You spend most of your time slowly walking around using your tools to scan and remove items that shouldn't be in a person's colon. There's small PS1 style cutscenes at the start of each day which provide the story and hints to what you'll find while spelunking. The best part of this game is when you have no idea what you're going to encounter next, and the tension builds as you creep deeper and deeper. There's 2 endings to the game, a good and bad ending, but they're just slight variations of the story's outcome. You get the good ending by clearing all the things you come across, cauterizing any bleeding, and washing everything away. And that's where my biggest issue with the game lies, the gameplay loop. The movement speed is very slow, and it's good for building tension, but 95% of the time you have things in front of you need to remove that you've seen many times before, and it feels never ending. There are parts a good way into some of the levels where you stumble across an item you want to interact with your tools, but don't end up doing so in case it causes a restart and you have to spend another 30 minutes slowly making your way back to that point. It's a 1 hour game pointlessly elongated into 2 to 3 hours. There's not much to say about this one. It felt more like a demo or a proof of concept for the longer milk outside of a bag of milk, since it was only about 10 minutes long. It did make me want to play the next game though, so it did its job. Stories about a young woman who's going to the store to buy some milk and how she copes with her mental health issues. It has a very Commodore 64 art style, and it did a really good job of its unsettling tone. For a complete tonal shift, here's a couple of chess puzzle games, where across 50 levels in each game, you need to guide your chess piece back to its side of the board, while avoiding being checkmated by the other pieces. You get 3 lives, and there's a pool of 50 levels the game randomly chooses from, so each playthrough plays out in a slightly different order. The second game is just 50 more levels, but you do get the ability to mark squares to keep track of the tiles that are unsafe. And the new levels do take that into account, with longer levels where you have to keep track of the pieces. What if the Pong ball got sick of being hit backwards and forwards, and it had its own adventure? This was a pretty fun platformer that kept adding new mechanics all the way to the end. A sequel came out in February last year, and it's definitely on my wishlist now after playing this one. There were a couple of moments where I wasn't sure if I needed to head in a certain direction to progress, but the game did eventually continue. It doesn't take too long to finish, so I'd wait for a good Steam sale to pick this one up. I'd forgotten just how short this game was, but granted I was using save states and a mouse to aim. Time Crisis is a game I played lots of growing up, and I've never played any other titles in the series, so I'm looking forward to checking them out in the coming months. While the PS1 version runs at half the refresh rate of the arcade, there is an added bonus scenario with multiple paths to add value to the cost. It's a fun way to spend an hour blasting away and experiencing a top quality performance and story. This was one of the standouts of this month. Hollow Floor is a short Metroidvania crossed with VVV. There's a couple of abilities that change your moveset that I don't want to spoil, and your goal is to pick up 3 gems to unlock the exit. While it could be done quite quickly, there are 3 difficult bonus areas that offer challenges, and lots of coin collectibles to find and pick up. Overall, I had a great time with Hollow Floor, and it's only £2.50 at full price. Considering it took me around 2 hours to finish with all coins, that's great value. There's also achievements for various deathless runs for those that enjoy the challenge. I'm a big fan of puzzle box games, from The Room to The House of Da Vinci, and while this one doesn't reach the quality of those titles, this is still a good game. It's on the easier side, so if you're looking for a good entry point into this type of game, I would recommend it. It has a hint system, as most of these games do, so you're never truly stuck. There's a story, but it's told through missable pickups, so it's possible not to get all of the story as you play, but you can often find this game for pretty cheap, so it's worth a playthrough. Below the Ocean is a charming 1-bit puzzle platformer. It took me about an hour to finish the 4 chapters, but there are collectible diamonds to pick up for anyone looking to get way more out of it. The game has lots of great ideas, and it doesn't outstay its welcome. The tether mechanic is pretty cool. I just wish there were more levels, but getting it in a Steam sale, it's not something I can really complain about. Sticking with the puzzle games, in this one you have to free the animals by moving the cube so it lands on the goal square in the right orientation. It took me about 90 minutes to finish the first world, with the zone and mechanic slightly changing every few levels. You'd certainly get a lot for your money with this one. There's 100 plus levels over the 5 worlds, even though the last 4 feel like an afterthought compared to the first world, unlocking once you reach the end of the first set of levels. It's very bright and colourful with cozy vibes, and if you enter these types of puzzle games, you're gonna love it.
Oh, hey! Look who's finally awake!
Another puzzle game, but this time it's first person, and one that suffers from the issue of having a character that quickly gets annoying and makes you want to turn the voice volume off. The gameplay itself is okay, bring matching symbols together, using your swap powers to reach the end of the level, and the game looks good graphically, and the final boss battle was quite fun. I understand they want to have VO for their story, and the performance itself isn't the problem, but I'd rather focus on the gameplay than listening to almost endless cheeky remarks. This was the other standout of January. If you're a fan of Obra Dinn, grab this game right now. The game follows the same premise as Obra Dinn. You're trying to work out the identity of the Ritri family, who have just suffered a family tragedy. The game will let you know if you're right once you've locked in the picture, name and job of 3 family members, though this does increase to 4 and later 5 family members. But you're not on a ship this time. It's 1998 and you use your trusty dial-up modem to search the internet and periodical databases for clues on who's who and how they relate to the other family members. There's a handy notebook function which allows you to highlight and save any info you find for later use, and a good hint system for when you get stuck. This was originally hosted on Itch for free, but now a paid Steam version has been released that swaps the AI used in the free version with illustrations, as well as expanding the story, bug fixes, improving the quality of the game as a whole, and adding a full second part to the story set after the events of the first part. There's some great moments as things click into place, and the game does get pretty challenging the further in you get, as family members don't have an online presence. I played through the Frog Detective trilogy this month, and while they are fun, silly games, the gameplay could have been more interesting. You spend most of the game finding the items each character wants in order to progress, but it never really gets more interesting than that. The characters and dialogue are a highlight, and each game is only 1 to 2 hours long. The third game has tried to spice things up by giving you a scooter you can ride around, as well as a bigger area to explore. But you end up just doing the same thing as the last 2 games, find an item and then who to give that item to. If you're gonna pick these up, I would wait for a Steam sale. With the reveal of Switch 2, I've started to pick up the first party titles I've not played on the Switch, ready for the new console. After playing the latest Pokemon title, I felt that the console just does not give good enough performance, so I plan to play most of them on the Switch too, hoping that backwards compatible games will benefit from the new hardware. In the meantime, I've subscribed to Nintendo's online service to access their virtual consoles, rounding off the month with these NES titles. I have to say, I think Nintendo's virtual console might be one of my favourite ways to play these old games. They're well known for being short but tough, to prolong game time, especially in Ninja Gaiden, but having the ability to rewind at any time made them so much easier. Usually when I play older titles, I use save states, but the rewind function is even better. The only downside is that the selection of titles on these services aren't that great. Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3 aren't on there, for example, and the Mega Drive 1 is missing Sonic and Streets of Rage 1 and 3, despite having their second entry into the series. Difficulty aside, these games are classic, and for good reason. The soundtracks are great and you quickly get hooked on the gameplay. Even if I was rewinding every couple of seconds near the end of Ninja Gaiden. And that wraps up January. Next month, the remasters for Tomb Raider 4 to 6 come out, so I'm sure I'll be playing them for the next couple of months. I'm also travelling up to Scotland to save some friends for just over a week, so it's going to be a bit of a shorter video next month. But let me know if you played any of these games and what you thought of them, as well as any recommendations for what I should play in the coming year. If you want to watch me play any of these, head over to my Twitch page. The link is in the description below. Otherwise, I'll see you next month.